Shit, right.
And we are live.
All right, don't forget to mute you guys' microphones during music.
Yeah. 1, 2. Ryukin versus Super GU. Sick gross rap in your big toe back. My mucus free flows, nothing to pick your nose at. These times are scary. Invade the wrong countries and you get your own library. We still there. While you say you pray for the gays, they still queer. Deities is ineffective as spilled beer. Chill here while children are hungry and live in fear. That's why I'm always trying to spit something into your ear. Fuck a king of a dictator's ass, stuff the dreams of those from whom he was, sucker lean. Pumping green, study your charged particles. If it's science, I love me a large article. Keep your gossip, give me the spectroscopic. Beware of any absolutist professing logic. Who next in line to drop it? Like a bomb being deployed from the pilot's cockpit. Vietnam. Don't be afraid of the waters, the sea is calm. Only your naval region farther than people are. I won off at a sneaky barge. If it wasn't for the luck of the draw, then we'd be Mars.
If it wasn't for a shitty industry, then we'd be stars. The needy, we feed them bars. Our enemies try to spar. The greedy, we see the swords. But really, we eat the scars. At them bomb battles, watch the TVs on Channel War. Who's your God? Is it Foxy or fleeting need to be Lord? Cheating people who sleep on my fleet will be feeling lost. Kneeling the breach is stealing your thoughts. You really are. Think we're cold, signing your garbage, that's how we really are.
My pros proposes carcinogens in your lymph nodes. Technic cold flows, disgusting spitting like I lip toes. I've been dope, brick flow hard as fuck when I rip domes like nipples that beneath snow. Massacred from the intro is how GU leaves the knees. Yeah, we gain respect. The Jesus rejects Armageddon when we get y'all hooked on the phonics of great gets and in depth. Tongue cracked by enemies like V-Tech. Yeah, we best.
And we beast and breeze beats. These rap quotes you repeat. GU some key freaks with lyrical missiles that he seek defeat. We never, my team's deep, we 3 deep. We eat sleep this music, you'll lose us with cheap beats. Got game like E3, you'll be boy with weak knees. Tracks too dirty for you unworthy neat freaks. Oh shit. Here comes the cannonball, I'm linked with the master sword, slashing all you can and
We come tromping through the universe, it's all with infinity darkness. While I'm curb stomping all your deities before they can even start shit. To rip off the mouth, this skulls like a trophy I thought they were supposed to be. A powerful and omnipotent, that shit wasn't shown to me. The words of written become the scriptures that replace the old shit. Cause even though they're explosive when they spoken, it's like a massive gnosis. You rappers have halitosis, cause everything out of your mouth is shitty. I pity so many of these zombie rappers, I feel like I'm living in Raccoon City.
Caution with this, you fucking lyrics be sounding like shit. I keep pushing on your amygdala, bitch. Keep giving your heart, brain unified stick. You niggas in dirt, steadily talking about you got that word. I think you ain't real, your mind is too slow. Mine is affirming your hands that he feel. Superluminal rhymes that it kill. Well on my way to mastering this skill. You thinking you hard, that shit is so sad. I hail from the bull and all I see is red. I'm starting to brew, charging on you. This is what lyrical violence do. We're riding on you, dividing your crew. Never see gifted after I stray. Silence to you niggas ain't got the who. Sonically screw with your mind what I do. Can't fuck with my crew. Through the night, Chevron is where we send you. Your destiny's left to lay in the damn 2 kids that's left. And I kinda mic shit, squeeze out your breath. Going up against us, bad for your health. This pound G, you package is new. Constricting your bladder, some rest to the loop. Battle us, just swallow H2O2. A lonely ass fate is awaiting you do. 6 empty underway, career rule. Challenges to us, there are too few. Cool, powers exclusive with the fool. Boo, never a cue. Nerve conditional boo. If you the boy, motherfucker, we the cue.
Out there, there's a star with a planet. Yeah, we're the species. Nothing like you. Yeah. It goes 1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse more, 8 verse for the people who hate verse. Stay hurt. We made it work, now take dirt. 1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse more. We embed information into the verse, a universe, omniverse, infiniverse. Today's hip hop celebrates the copycat. Every clone with the chain and the sloppy rap. I came to shit like Bukaki scat. You wanna knock me back? I'm throwing fists like a hockey scrap. Get your best verse together and just spit it. You ain't number one, you just covered the 10th digit. We're infinite while their approach is limited. We could leave a lasting imprint if you're interested. Whether GU or gibberish in Hebrew. If we think you have knowledge, then we come in to see you. Long style, gone wild. I got marijuana that makes politicians want to work across aisles. Soul kid, I'm a star child. So sick, I could barf vowels. You in our house, Tony Stark style. Peace to Ghostface. These rappers be on their birthday and still be getting no cake.
So fake, they diminish, we so great. We finished in first place and headed for curved space. Warp drive, acceleration with no brakes. Unified intelligence, nothing is okay. So lame, think I'll stay up and just go blaze. Write a dope verse that's colder than froze lakes. Okay, now we invented the mind state to kick an eternal state like horizontal figure eight. With a delimited minutes fitted infinite within it, given the sentences, written visions of endlessness in them. And we injecting the rhythm like venom into the rhythm and send them into a new solar system. Yeah, because we out of the galaxy. This is why it's happening rapids in my anatomy. Naturally, I'll be glad to be put into the position to put any smaller numbers below me like coefficients.
It goes 1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse more, 8 verse for the people who hate verse. Stay heard, we made it work, now taste dirt. 1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse more. We embed information into the verse, a universe, omniverse, infiniverse.
Keep your blurry eyes on my meteoric rise. Epiphanies through starry skies, story guy. Hot flowing magma when I rhyme. So you say you broke the mold? Well, I shattered the design. Falling objects in my path from my rap. Fuck, I read the signs. Smash on the beat, you flies. Regurgitating feeble lines for feeding time. Keep the lies, I feed the wise parables. To demonize animals who eat on crime, cannibals who need a life, cannibals. Highest lines igniting light for brighter times. I am high flying through styles, avian rhymes. And maybe I'm dying, but really not. Flows immortal, spit a couplet at the multiverse and open up a portal. Flow inside the center where I enter is the door to the alpha and omega where I caught you, then I fork you. Playing chess with Orion, with your poor view making poor moves. Waiting for your holy father's call, he never calls.
See all these scriptures and glyphs relating fiction to kids. Created friction being placed on my corporate bids. My brain gets polluted as the arguments amid, but forbid what I'm asking, I'm no longer in the bid. It's a kid that is rapping, but a man in the midst, waiting for the perfect time to spit around from my lips. My hips below knees, it drips when I squeeze, taking shits on MCs with the greatest of ease. An artist tries his hardest to demonstrate his smarts, while the martyrs of the art world emulate our hearts. The smartest even miss and are farthest from the start, while the list breeds carnage quickly rising up the chart. You think you honor me? I don't like your honesty. And honestly, I don't even care if you're on Obama's team. And fuck society, I don't want them eyeing me. I'd rather sit back, spit, whip, and smoke a lot of
It goes
weed.
1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse more, 8 verse for the people who hate verse. Stay heard, we made it work, now taste dirt. 1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse more. We embed information into the verse, a universe, omniverse, infiniverse.
But now I merge and make them disperse with a magnetic burst. But first I touch down to create shockwaves that tremble the earth, that quench my thirst for dopeness with focused destruction of these whack styles. Foretold to bring the end to whack times like I've been prophesized. What I despise most is your propensity for overstating, faking your significance like you're something that I should be hating. Maybe you were ill once, but now we got a vaccine. Develop research, the patent pending out of a lab from my team. Circle the earth twice while you're barely leaving the starting block. Suggest you stop bluffing like you're making moves. We know you're not, cause this is our time and the future's in our rhymes. So we're winning this game while your ass is riding the pine. You'll find some other place to be, anywhere but in front of me, cause these days they say death rocks a bald head and a goatee. I've closely observed all your absurdity, none of it's impressive. In fact, it's quite absurd to me.
Yeah, man, I don't write a verse, I compose a multiverse, enlighten you like a supernova that's close to Earth. The light burns, I know it hurts, you know what's worse? Living in darkness like black holes that go to church. I'm a crack baby, sick to death, dope since birth, I'm so sick, my verse could choke a nurse. And yet I'm underground, way below the dirt, below these rappers that don't deserve the dough they earn. Yeah, I said it, they earned it, but they don't deserve it. I'm probably wrong about that, screw it, go and burn it. Buy yourself a $100,000 shirt, it fits you perfect, no doubt, I know it's worth it. Pull your platinum wallet out your golden person, own a person, sex slaves are always working. They compare me to someone, I used to not prefer it. Screw it, I'm Marshall Mathers, the godless version.
1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse, 4, 8 verse, for the people who hate verse, stay heard, we made it work, now taste dirt. 1 verse, 2 verse, 3 verse, 4, 5 verse, 6 verse, 7 verse, more.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yo,
What
yo.
up? What up?
How you guys doing?
All right, man.
It's actually a better day than I anticipated Hump Day would be.
Hump Day.
So, welcome to the G Universe. I'm Rissa Polaris, and tonight we've got a full squad with us. A room full of dope. As a matter of fact, I'm surrounded by G's. I got Gifted Anomaly with us. I got Gabe Rosales of Venon with us.
What up? What's good?
And of course, Graydon Square.
Only on TV.
But you know, you also have to have the tremendous, so we've got Tombstone with us as well.
Yeah, I am mighty tremendous, aren't I? Yes.
Sometimes a little terrifying, but those who know you well know you're tender also.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Big old heart. Watch out for Reaper Nation, but it's got a big old heart. How you guys doing, fellas?
I'm getting high.
Yeah.
Podcast will be right there with you, bro.
I am actually pretty excellent today. Did a lot of creating today.
Yeah, same here, man.
That makes 3 of us. I did a lot of creating today, too.
Dope. Dope.
Some reading, too.
I want to open this up because, you know, we have just about 30,000 people who follow us on Facebook. They keep up with the news stories that we post and, you know, interact with us on, you know, how we interpret science achievements and innovations. And there are several of us that keep that page updated with current information and engage in conversation with you. But there's one dude in particular who, I mean, he's mean with it, just mean.
Yeah.
Like, this dude is so tight with keeping us up to date. I mean, if you haven't noticed, the man keeps us up to date. Every 2 hours, he's got some new information for us. And,
Oh, yeah.
you guys need to know a huge driving force behind that page. That's Gifted Anomaly.
Take a bow, sir.
Yeah, man. You do a great job over there, dude. You really do.
I try. I just try. You know, try to keep it current, keep it updated, not let too many gaps happen.
Man, I want to know how you do it, man, because it's like, how do you sift through that much information? Because, like, I mean, there's just so much stuff, and it's all intriguing, and it's all, like, quality information that I want to spend time reading, and it's like, I don't even understand how, it's almost like you have some kind of, you have psychic abilities, man.
Hey,
My
it's a Gifted Anomaly.
It's being a straight up information whore. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. He has like 100 tabs open at all times.
I got 200 tabs open on the side right.
My computer would be on fire, dog, if I had that many tabs open.
Yo, Toon, put them on. Toon, put them on.
Yeah, man. Gary put me onto it, and I'm telling you, it made my whole thing here a lot more structured and cohesive because my shit was all over the place.
What was it? What is it?
You gotta get sidewise tree style tabs. You know, it allows you to keep your tabs in order without having, you know, the blocks all at the top of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
No more. Yeah, that's
I
what
have a feeling I have a feeling there's quite a few of us that are about to get mad organized after.
Right.
You know, I warn you just like I warned Toom. It makes the info whoring worse though.
Yes, it did.
Oh, I bet. Just like Reddit, what was it called? The companion, the Reddit companion.
Mhm.
That basically makes it to where you don't even have to click the links to open up the pictures and
Right.
just play right in the browser. It's like you'll never leave Reddit. Already took 45 minutes. Now will take 3.5 hours.
Right.
Look. We're talking about all this information, and I've got some information to share. You know, I definitely, want to give big ups and big props to our fellow GU brothers and sisters that have tuned in. Kate the Great.
Kate.
Shouted her out last week. She's with us this week. Agma, who joined us last week as well. The one and only Adequate, who we have a special treat in store for you guys later on from Adequate.
Yeah.
And a face I haven't seen in a long time, but Lee Lemon. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us. We hope everything's well with you and can't wait to touch base and catch up with what you've been doing. Lee is a fantastic blogger, so when you get a chance, check out Lee Lemon. But on top of that, there is speaking, Gary, of a ton of information and how do you sift through it, it was so difficult picking this week's topics because, as I say every week, there are so many exciting revelations, discoveries, and innovations happening in science. So it was very difficult to choose these three, and I had to tell myself and promise myself that we would be back again next week to talk about all those other stories that didn't quite make the cut for today. But, we're talking some serious business. Stuff that's been in the works for nearly a century, has broken through this week. We're talking about turning light into matter. That's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Perceptonium? No.
I've been waiting for that news to come down for a while now too.
Yeah. No, that's right.
What was it called? I was reading about it today. Was it Perceptonium or Percepticronium or something? You guys remember what it's called? Like the actual matter that they were naming?
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. And then we're also going to spend a little bit of time talking about dark matter, which, if you don't know this yet, maybe next to zombies, is one of my favorite things to talk about. Dark matter. There's some new revelations coming to light. Look, all the puns, I can't hold them back. I'm trying to.
Funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some exciting stuff happening and some theories and suggestions that are being put out for consideration with I wouldn't necessarily call it evidence per se, but I would say that, the points of consideration are going to lead to evidence so that we can really fully understand galaxies and dark matter I'll talk about it. We'll get into that more later. If I keep talking, we're going to end up talking about the story right now, and I don't just yet, because the other exciting thing that we're going to talk about today is, something that we've always dreamed about doing. And if you're as young as I am, then you'll remember going to the Nickel Arcade, and it probably began with video games, where we really wanted to be in control of a cockpit and, be able to move well beyond perceived limitations. And just recently, they have simulated flying by the power of your brain. So it's mind control flight, meaning you're going to operate that plane with your mind. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's go, if you guys don't mind, let's jump right on into the big story, which is turning light into matter.
So, Ray, you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take it. Basically, we came across a story that's about 80 years in the making. about, let's see if I can pronounce their names. Briet, what's his name? Briet and Wheeler wrote a paper in 1934 talking about the possibility of turning light into matter by photon-photon collisions. Have you guys heard of this at all?
This was actually the first time I had even encountered that, was when this article was presented.
So the mechanism this was supposed to be achieved by is something called a photon-photon collider, which would convert light directly into matter using technology that apparently is already available. And see, this is, and I'm not going to segue too much because I want to get through this, but I hate stuff that I know we can have with the technology we have.
And we don't. And they won't give it to us. Yeah,
but
dude.
we don't have.
I'm right there with you.
There's no funding for it.
Okay, I'm just going to read it. What'd you say, Gary? What'd you say, Gary?
I said Neil deGrasse Tyson have something to say on that part. Saying we have no funding is demonstrably false.
Yeah, no. I mean, we know that the money is there. I mean, we can look at all the stuff that we spend money on and ask the questions about what we don't spend the money on, and I mean, you can tell that the money's there. So.
Oh yeah, the money's there. I mean, it's just a simple fact of what we choose to value over other things. That's what it is. But I would love to know, what kind of applications do you think, like real world applications, do you think is possible with this sort of technology once it evolves? Like, well, we know it is.
I can tell you where it is important in Big Bang cosmology. You know, this is very useful in the models in which, in the very early part of the universe, this was necessary to really explain where, you know, matter might have come from. I mean, it's not for sure, but this could be right along
those lines.
That neighborhood, yeah. So it's like, this is really important for us to develop a more comprehensive origin model to this particular universe.
Well, look, I mean,
I got a question too.
I was just going to say to that point, Gray, this particular experiment would recreate a process that was important in the first 100 seconds of the universe.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it. I saw it twice.
100 seconds. I mean, essentially it means that we're getting closer to understanding what the beginning of a beginning is.
Right.
And you know, I mean, sometimes I think in terms of like just our human capacity to understand things, like it's just the more I look at our species, and it's like we're always we're searching for meaning. We put meaning on everything. We put in these little like perfect boxes so that we can comprehend it. Because if it's too infinite, then like we lose our shit, you know, and like we'll go crazy. So you know, the whole idea of beginnings and endings, it's like almost like we could even stop looking at things linearly, time-wise. You know what I mean?
Right.
My question too is like was Lawrence Krauss talking about this at all? Because I mean, I know Lawrence Krauss is one of the guys that talks about getting something from nothing. But is this part of his theory? Like, was he touching on like photons becoming matter?
No,
I don't think this is related.
He wasn't touching on that. He was mostly talking about the energy of the vacuum energy.
Vacuum energy, right?
Right. Like there's actually no such thing as nothingness. Is basically what he's talking about.
Right.
Well, okay, and this is related. I agree with Gabe initially, where I'm starting to think that the idea of a beginning is a very human concept.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. That, you know, at the very beginning, well, there really was no real beginning.
Right.
It has always existed. The actors just changed.
Right. Right.
Well, I mean, you know, if you really wanted to break down that perception, then we would also have to acknowledge that, you know, the way that we perceive time is really only relevant to us as human beings. It's not even relevant to other species on this planet.
Right.
It's related directly to our lifespan and how we interpret the meaning or span of time to be.
What's funny too is that we don't even we don't even, like, sometimes time isn't even relevant to us, because the way our brain processes stuff, like, we're processing things like a second or two later than they actually happen usually, or is it like less than that? I'm not sure, but it's in terms of time, like, that's hilarious. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's lag on reality for sure.
So there's lag on reality where you have the speed of light, the light hitting your eye, the sound coming from my mouth, a completely different time it takes. Your brain is completely different, and then also time being relative not just to us being humans, but to the people on this planet. Gravity well you being on this planet, time is moving different than anything outside of this gravity well.
Right. There's been experiments done at higher altitudes and lower altitudes to prove that. I was just reading a paper on atomic clocks not being able to be synced on Earth.
Yeah. If they move at two different speeds, they're gonna change.
Yeah.
They're gonna change.
Wow.
That sucks. That's so funny.
Wow.
And that's
Every
the
time
highest
you
precision
find
clock that
the
we
truth.
have. That's what's crazy.
What'd you say? Say it again?
No, I said that's the high, and that's one of the highest. I think that's the highest precision time measurement instrument that we have. I mean, I don't think there's like quantum time or anything like that.
Right. Well, that's what's even funnier, though, because to me it's like, you know, you hear people talk about the ultimate truth, and there's got to be something that's always the same. It's like, no, there doesn't actually have to be something.
Right.
What's the same is change. Like maybe that's in that kind of counter.
Only constant.
Exactly. That's the only thing you can count on.
You know, I'm going to throw the link to the article up in the comment section, but I think, you know, since we're talking about time, what's impressive to me are the number of people that have worked on this particular theory. I mean, we're talking about, you know, from 100 years ago. I mean, you even have, you know, well-known names like Einstein that, you know, put his hands on it at one point in his timeline.
Right.
So it's I think really cool to see, also considering the fact that the two scientists that are developing the experiment, which will really take place next year, I think, we're working on something completely different when they recognize that, hey, you know, that theory that's been kicked around for a while, we think we can resolve that by applying tools that we are working with right now in a totally different direction. And so it's, you know, for me, it's a reminder that, you know, scientific endeavors are enduring. So, and it also serves as a reminder that, you know, what we know to be factual and truthful today does not necessarily mean that won't change with new information and knowledge tomorrow. And that's really what science is all about.
Right.
Right. That's the most important thing right there.
I always tell people, you know, gravity is truthful until it's not.
Right.
We test find out gravity don't work, it's gonna be truthful, but until that happens, no.
Right. And I think people need to start being more open to that. I think that's probably the reason why, especially here in the United States, there's this groundswell of anti-scientific, is because a lot of people want things to say, okay, this is the truth.
Word.
And this is carved in stone, and this cannot change. And the reality of the universe is that that's not true. Like everything that we've ever came about as far as using the scientific method for, we have discovered that, oh, that's not that anymore. Oh, well, that is that, but it could also be this. Oh, well, maybe we wasn't looking at that with all of the available data. We didn't have the tools of observation that we have now, so now we see it bigger. But if we keep closing our minds off to stuff simply because there's a very human impulse to keep things a certain way, we will never advance.
Well, you know, Deceitful, thank you for hanging out with us again tonight. And Invincible, I see you up in this piece. But Deceitful says, you know, the concept of turning light into matter reminds me of the quotation, and he pulled from one of my favorite science fiction authors who, when I say his name, you will know has inspired a lot of the scientific experiments that we're working on now, particularly as they relate to space, movement in space. But any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Arthur C. Clarke.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. That.
Well, that's what magic was, you know?
I've used that premise in a couple of songs I've been working on.
Dope.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, give us a little tease. I want to hear a little tease about it. You don't have to give us a verse. Just give us a little.
I can give you a verse, but basically, if I say too much, it's gonna give away too much. Drew running around some of my songs. It looked like he got some magical abilities, but
Well, I mean, what? I mean, that's how we keep it GU, though, right? Like, we learn all of this stuff, and then, you know, how can it not seep into our creativity? How can it not seep into, you know, the lyrics when we're, you know, explaining and describing the picture in our mind and, you know, the hopes and thoughts and desires that we have, or describing, you know, things that, you know, we find challenging and want to overcome. I mean, isn't that really what music reflects?
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
Or good music should be, at least.
Right. I mean, anything that I pretty much absorb from things that I read or the things that I've seen eventually works its way into a line or a concept for a song or something of that nature. It's inevitable.
Yeah, it is. You know, and as a writer, you know, I'm the same way. And then there are moments where, you know, I make a very concerted effort to bring the essence of that idea into the story that I'm painting or the message that I'm putting together. And, you know, I think I personally enjoy it. It feels like, you know, a crafty sort of way to get my message and my point, you know, out there without shoving it in somebody's face.
Right.
True.
Right.
You know, I mean, especially in marketing, everything is always so subliminal, right? Like, everything's always about making you think you want that. And there's a reason why that can't work in the opposite direction as well.
True.
That's my piece. But speaking of music, Gabe, I'm so stoked to have you on board with us today because you're such a busy dude. You're a teacher, you're a musician, you're also a student, you know, part of Zulu Nation, Grand Unified. You know, you're a parent, you've got a household to maintain, and it really is a joy to have you on board with us today. But I also am stoked because, you know, while we are hip-hop heads up in Grand Unified, we're not just hip-hop. We're about all art forms and all genres, and Gabe, you know, represents the hard rocker and metalheads that we are as well. So tell us a little bit about your group.
Well, like I put my stuff together. I mean, I grew up playing death metal, so that was my thing when I was like in junior high. Like first thing I ever played was like Slayer for a junior high talent show. And then but when I was growing up though, I was always into like a bunch of different kinds of music. Like my first couple tapes I had was like, you know, I had a Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. And then with that I had Slayer, you know what I mean, and Faith No More. So it's like it was constantly this. I mean, I just was absorbing all kinds of music, you know what I mean. And I love all styles of music. And obviously, the better you get at an instrument, the more different kinds of music you start appreciating. So I got more into like Latin jazz and funk and stuff like that, and fusion, and I started appreciating that. But when I put out Vital Nonsense, my solo album, I wanted to make an album that encompassed all the kinds of music that I wanted to play, which is like in one show, you know, some people I didn't know how it was going to work out because it's like I start off the set with like almost like an acoustic thing, but I'm rapping over this like Latin thing, and then it turns into a funk show, and then I grab a guitar and sing and play just like some acoustic songs, and then we do some more fusion stuff, and then, you know, I play like a Weather Report tune, and then we go into the metal. So then I started playing heavy metal towards the end of the show, and then we end with like War Pigs, Black Sabbath. Usually that's like so it's like it's a big combination of stuff, and it's, you know, a little something for everybody. And when I first was putting the whole project together, you know, I had friends that were telling me, you know, you should, you know, release all this under different aliases, different styles of music, because nobody's gonna, you know, like appreciate all that stuff on one CD. But realistically, you know, kids nowadays anyways are just buying one song off of iTunes, and I'm like, if they're gonna pick one song out, let them freaking, if somebody likes the Latin tune, then let them buy the Latin tune and just buy that one song. If somebody wants the funk tune, they'll listen to that funk tune. But the whole thing is, you know, I mean, just growing up listening to like the whole Public Enemy and Anthrax thing, you know, watching Run DMC and Aerosmith, like that shit was to me like some of the best collaborations I've ever seen in any kinds of music, because you had the lyricism to me, which was like in the hip hop world. Spitting all these lyrics, and, you know, hopefully they're intelligent and have some kind of social justice or some kind of message. You can fit so much information into such a small amount of space. So it's basically like, you know, it's like a hard drive. It's like quantized information in hip hop, which is brilliant, as opposed to something that, you know, where somebody can fit like 3 words in one verse by just singing along, you know, which is
right.
But that's what I appreciated about hip hop is the lyricism plus, I mean, just the percussiveness of the vocals, and then then just trying to incorporate that with everything else. So it's like I'm happy to be here, and that's I want to hopefully I can bring that kind of stuff to Grand Unified as well, because the new album's coming out soon. So hold on to your butts.
Oh, we can't wait for that. We cannot wait for that.
Puckered.
I know. And you know what? I'm going to let it leak a little bit right now. I'm going to let it leak and say that, one of the things that, we are planning in a very hopeful manner is to be able to bring a GU show back to the West Coast. And that means that we're going to get Gabe and B9 involved in that show, and you'll have an opportunity to see him and hear him there as well. So that's a little bit further out on our timeline. But
it's going to happen, though.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
I'm going there.
Seems like a pretty good segue to talk about our own particular event, right?
Yeah, man. There's some dope stuff happening. I mean, it's this whole campaign, the event in particular, the way that we put it together has been amazing, and has been bigger than I think any one of us, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but bigger than any one of us had imagined, its potential to be. And as you guys know, we're going to be in Maryland, July 26th. The Celestial Wars event. It's a concert and show, but it's even more than that because we've turned it into sort of an all-day experience with lots of different opportunities for you to come and get your GU on with us, starting with the Smithsonian, a day at the museums, watching an IMAX film on The Dark Universe, narrated by Nerd Crush, NDT, and then even having lunch at the Natural History Museum later on. But then we're going to go to the show, we're going to wild out, we're going to rock hard with some premiere music that hasn't been dropped yet, that's actually in the process of being laid down right now. Like when these fellas say that they have spent their time being creative, they mean it. They've been writing, they've been in the studio, they've been recording, they've been on their beat machines, putting it all together for you guys. And it doesn't stop there.
Hey, I put bong water on my beat machine. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, then I guess it'll be hella dope, won't it? But it doesn't stop there. We're also doing, an after party event. We're calling it the Chill Out because that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a post-show podcast with all of our fans and supporters that come and hang out with us at the Chill Out. I know for a fact that Gray's chessboard will be there.
Yeah, taking on all challengers on the chessboard.
But with this campaign, we have felt so much love. We've gotten so much support. We've got 10 days to go. We're already at 66%. We sold out. We sold out of the Smithsonian event, which is huge. First of all, we're looking forward to hanging with upwards of 30 of our Grand Unified community members with all of the artists. But because we sold out, we're like, look, we got to do something more. And so we put together some extremely dope new perk packages, and they range everywhere from being able to get on a track with a Grand Unified artist. You could be a guest MC. If you've never MC'd before, not a problem, because GU will get down with you and help you write your 16 bars and coach you via video chat. And once you deliver your recorded vocals, we're going to mix it down, and you will be on a Grand Unified posse track. How dope is that?
Yeah, that's incredible.
I look forward to that.
For a second. You got a bunch of artists who also love it. I mean, does it get any better than that?
Right.
The other thing that
how many rappers?
The other thing that we're doing is you can be a Grand Unified producer. You can be the producer and the host for our next GU Radio Volume 3, which means that if you're up to it, you can get on the track and be the host, the master of ceremonies, if you will, and introduce all the artists and all the tracks And if you feel a little mic shy, that's okay. You can still get down and help us produce the track and get your name on the back of everywhere that particular mixtape is published and promoted. You also have the opportunity to sponsor a series of podcasts. You can be a guest on one of our podcasts. And then we have some other really dope levels. GU Stay and Play. You want a hotel package? We got that. If you want to get down to go to the Smithsonian, because, oh, by the way, we opened up a few more spots. So if you want to get down to go to the Smithsonian, if you want to hang with us at the show, and if you want to chill with us at the after party, we've got the ultimate experience perk back there for you. So check out the campaign. At the very least, check out the, and maybe this might be a good time to drop that link. What do you think, fellas, for that trailer? The Celestial Wars.
Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna put it in the comment section, but you know, Gray and Tomb gave me a sneak preview of the Celestial Wars track, and it was just straight up fire. Like I think Gray probably put it best when he says, "Does it make you want to punch somebody?" And I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is marching orders. So I'm gonna post the link to that trailer in the comment section. You guys check it out. I mean, we like your attention now, but you're welcome to go check it out and then come back and tell us, you know, what you think of it. We'd love to catch your opinion. I have a feeling you're gonna be like, that's dope as funk. So check out the campaign, but even more than that, we really appreciate all of the support that we've gotten, because it's not just people buying perk packages, it's people who are just contributing to support our grand unified effort. And so we have some special shout outs today that we'd like to make, and without him, you know, really being prepared for it, but because he's a G, I'm going to throw it over to Graydon for the first shout out right now.
Oh, okay. Well, let me get up on my toes. Let me pull it up. Wait a minute. Who are we talking about? Gary? Am I giving a shout out to Gary on the show? Like, just over?
Gary always gets a shout out wherever we're at. But this
is this not saying Gary? Because I'm kind of confused here.
I want to give a shout out to Graydon Square.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, I'm more than willing to do that. I mean, he's dope enough.
What about me, though? Would you be willing to shout me out?
No.
Well,
yes, I absolutely.
Here comes my.
I'm kind of curious which person I'm supposed to be shouting out here on this.
This is Gary. Gary, I'm not putting his last name out there like that.
Okay, so just random Gary.
No, he's not random Gary. He's a GU loving Gary. That's who he is.
Okay, all right. Well, Gary, even though I couldn't really place you and pull your name out of a hat, thanks, man. Much appreciated. I hope I didn't suck too bad. What do you want from me? What do you want?
Look, I'll tell you what. After the podcast, I'm gonna shoot you his profile so that you can see that you know this Gary. I know you do. He's a longtime supporter, and
okay.
I'll shoot it over to you so that you can reach out and touch him quite personally.
I will. I'll shoot him a direct message.
And then also want to shout out Allison. Allison was very, very dope supporting. I believe Allison is coming with us to the Smithsonian.
Wow, dope.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And then also, now, I look at this and I want to say McReady, because it just feels like Chris is McReady to jam out with us. But
That's one of the doper names that I've heard on this podcast.
I'm pretty sure it's McReady, but I personally...
you like McReady. It's got to be McReady.
Say McReady. Chris, thank you for your support. And
Thanks,
then
Chris.
I know Toom has a huge shout out that he'd like to make.
Yeah, I need to shout out the Friendly Atheist, the website, and the Facebook page. They've always been very supportive of the individual artists on Grand Unified. They've done articles on Graydon. They've done a shout out to Gifted Anomaly. They've done 2 or 3 on me. And now they even went so far as to share our campaign on their Facebook page and do an article about the event on the website. So, I mean, it doesn't get that much more awesome than that. And when we saw it, it was a string of really good things that were happening that day, and that just put like the icing on the cake. So we definitely want to shout you out and appreciate the support, man.
One thing, I was just going to say, one thing about the Friendly Atheist is that, he has a huge following, but he is trying to get to that 80,000 mile marker. So if you can go check out the Friendly Atheist page. He's dope dude. He's a math teacher by day and a friendly atheist by all the time.
Wow.
So go check him out, like his page, show him that support. His page is funny and interesting. I've already shared a few.
Me too.
The last 2 days. He's actually on the East Coast, but he travels quite a bit because he is a featured speaker. It's also interesting to know he's a featured writer for some very well-known publications that I'll let you look him up. I don't know if he wants to be shouted out with those publications, but if you Google him, you will see his publications. But he's in the eye. He's I have a difficult time saying that somebody is representing for me, but the reality is that we do represent each other, and I think he does a really phenomenal job of representing the truth about most atheists and agnostics and non-believers. So go check him out and show him your support and love.
Absolutely.
Hey, one last thing about the Friendly Atheist. Like Tombstone said, they've done plenty of stories on GU members throughout the years, really. And I don't know if it's one person who runs the page or not, but whoever it is, contrary to kind of I'm not going to call it off and on support within the secular community that we get, because we have a really weird relationship. But they've always been friendly and they've always been kind to us. So we really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hey, so I've got I'm looking at the comments in the section, and I've just noticed there's a couple people saying, "Oh, too bad the Smithsonian is sold out," or "I didn't know about the Smithsonian." We fixed that. We totally fixed that for you. So if you still want to get down with the Smithsonian event, I know I do. I'm so quite literally geeked about it. You can still do that. We have the ultimate GU experience up there where you can get in on the Smithsonian event. If you've already purchased a perk, just hit us up and we'll work something out with you.
Yeah, man, come on out and see us, man. The more the merrier, for real. The more the merrier. And I've said this a lot, but it's true, man. It's nothing like seeing the fans in person. I enjoy the fact that I get to interact with them online as much as I do, and laugh with them and learn stuff from them. But to be there, like, live, to actually meet people, that's what's up. So come on out, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be my first time interacting with the GU fans live, so I'm just, if not more geeked than they are.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But you've been to one of our events, though, like, so firsthand.
Yeah. The infamous meeting.
Yeah, man. That was infamous for a lot of people. But that's the thing. These outings that we do, it's like a lot of bonding happens at these things. It's not like a traditional concert where you're kind of at arm's length from the artist. You're doing your own thing until they come out off stage and they do their thing, and then you never see them again. But that's just not like that. Like, we're nerds and geeks just like you guys. So there's an opportunity for us to hit up the Smithsonian as a group, and we can have you guys support our concert endeavor, and you guys can come out with us. It's fantastic. We love it.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't we catch up with Ryan Adam at one of our events? Isn't that really kind of locked heads with him?
We did. I think that was in Austin. Was that Austin?
Yeah, when Ryan first became a member, it was right around the time when we did the Austin American Atheist Convention, which we killed, by the way. And Man, he was so excited to be there that he literally like drove from where he was at to get to the convention just to go up there and support us and be down. And he also performed last year in Redmond, Washington, and he killed that too. He always comes prepared. He's one of the hardest workers as far as on the independent artists that I have seen in a while. I mean, he even came with his own cameraman. Come on. Come on. You know.
I totally forgot about that.
So,
he had a ball out there.
You know, you guys know I love movies. I mean, I do a lot of writing, and so I almost always have to have something on in the background to just, sort of keep my creativity going or give me that mental break when I'm tired of, writing whatever it is that I'm doing. One of my favorite flicks is Full Metal Jacket. You guys seen that?
Yep.
I mean, number one, I'm a huge history buff, particularly when it comes to world wars or wars in general, and then anything that deals with the aftermath. And Full Metal Jacket is sort of in that vein. So when I saw this next story, I mean, like, immediately it grabbed my attention. And the header was Full Dark Matter Jacket. I'm like, you said what now? You have got my full 100 right now. But really what it is a failed dwarf galaxy that has, we think, survived a galactic collision. Normally this doesn't happen, but the theory is that it is surrounded by or encased by dark matter, and that dark matter is sort of shielding it from exposure to what would typically completely destroy it. So it's almost like it's wrapped in a full metal jacket, kind of like a bullet in that sense. It's a high velocity hydrogen cloud that's really hurtling towards the Milky Way. And what's interesting about it is that it's called the Smith Cloud. We'll put up a link to the picture so you can take a look at it. It's about 8,000 light years away from our galaxy, and it's coming towards us at roughly about 150 miles per second. I mean, like,
wow,
that's crazy.
But I suppose, in a galactic sense, it's maybe sort of like taking a stroll, yeah?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but since we normally don't think in galactic terms, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, that's still pretty fast.
It's mind-boggling.
Even in the cosmic sense, I'm still pretty impressed by that.
So, I mean, realistically, by our time standards, it really, it won't impact for about 30 million years.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
It might be a while. Let me post this up in the comments. But what do you guys think about that? Like, the whole subject of dark matter is so intriguing because it seems like we are really living on the cusp of just about to understand what dark matter is. Like, and as soon as we unlock just a little bit of that understanding, I think it's going to be a huge game changer in terms of, our abilities and capabilities. It will open up an extremely wide array of possibilities, whether it's, related to us here terrestrially, or if it means that it affects the way that we're able to travel through space. So, what do you guys think about dark matter?
Well, shit, man. Well, you guys want in on this first? Because I got so many thoughts.
Oh, yeah, well, I was so intrigued by the whole dark matter thing that I wrote a song about it. But, I mean, when I first saw this article in particular, the only thing I kept thinking was, damn, who took a pot shot at the Milky Way? It's like somebody was trying to snipe the Milky Way. But the fact that, like, the actual properties of dark matter have to be, like, something that's beyond what we have beforehand even known anything about, because for it to allow this thing to survive a galactic collision, that's no small feat right there. And I can't even, the reality is, when I first heard that, it came with all kinds of implications for the own stories and stuff that we're writing. So it's like, it amazed me.
Yeah.
Every time I hear something new about dark matter, any dark matter story that comes out, the only thing that ever goes through my mind is, what is this stuff?
Right. Right.
This story just brings that question to me. What doesn't interact with anything else? How do you? And it has strength that if it surrounds a galaxy, how galaxies survive a collision. Seriously.
Right.
Well, I was also reading something in there that said this also shows that there's supposed to be like a lower limit to how big a perceived galaxy can be, because if this is a failed galaxy and it's this small, and we had assumed that galaxies were supposed to be or were measured by a predetermined size, what we call galaxies. I mean, I don't know, man. It's any one of these exotic elements within physics is always something mind-numbing, because the more you think you understand them, the more is revealed to that you can't possibly really understand them. This to me is like type 1 science that we're trying to do pre-type 1. And yeah, we can dabble in it, we can try, we can experiment, but until we get closer to type 1, it just won't really mean as much to us, because we won't have a way to use it. Like I was looking at an article that was kind of related to this, but not really. They were talking about the idea about starships powered by black holes. And I mean, it's like you get into stuff like that and you're like, there's only really so much you can conceptualize, because everything in your reality has boundaries, and a lot of these things that we talk about are just outside those boundaries. Like, right. Something that has a gravitational influence not interacting with light. That's pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those fantastic elements of the universe that we just take for granted.
Sometimes I think that, like, it's almost the same thing. I mean, I don't know. I relate stuff to sound waves a lot, too, and music, and just, like, what creates a vibe or something, or what creates what is and how we perceive it. There's this drummer named Kenwood Denard, and when, like, if you guys are familiar, somebody's playing a beat and they'll stop, and they'll do a fill, that'll just kind of lead into the next bar of 4. And some of his fills include so much space that is the fill. The fill is not putting anything in that space. So if we think of dark matter in terms of that, we could think of harnessing things in terms of not using it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Does that make any sense?
Wow.
Because, I don't know how that would work, but that's what I think of when I think of dark matter. Because if it's something that's absent, there's no light can escape it or whatever, then it has to be kind of like along the same lines as, like, what we would think of as silence, the space in between the notes, which is just as important as the notes that you're playing. You know what I mean? Because, I notice this more and more, obviously from teaching music. Because if you have, like, a note, say like a quarter note or something, and it's supposed to last within a finite number or time, a beat, there's, rests. And so, like, that would be like a little teeny pocket of space right in between that. And that creates this vibe and this perception of reality and a perception of movement that we don't even realize is being created. And it's only because of the space in between it. So if we can think of dark matter kind of like that, I don't know, I'm getting kind of yin-yangy. Like China, like Eastern philosophy.
Man,
I got it. I'm going to unify music theory with the standard model.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Exactly. It's tricky.
It's funny. This conversation is reminding me of a Asimov quote where he says, it goes something along the lines of, in science, the word that heralds discoveries is not eureka, but that's weird.
Right.
Yeah, that's real talk, dog. Right. Yep, that's man.
And actually, of all of the things that I've heard proposed about dark matter or attempted to explain dark matter, I think that's probably one of the best explanations or propositions I've heard, Gabe. That really, I don't think a lot of people think of it in those terms. I think we're trying to wrap our heads and our hands around it, like, to make it something tangible, because that's how we best relate to understanding things, is if it's tangible. But you know, I mean, if we were to take it into consideration in the way that you just presented it, I think that the spectrum of possibility gets vastly larger. Like, what if what we are living in is actually the silence in between the notes?
Oh man, now you're getting into the omniverse.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You know, it's really cool stuff because you know, and I know, you know, we talk a lot about type 1 and type 2 and even the possibility of type 3, and I really believe that and Gray and we go back and forth on this often. I believe that we are very type 1 capable. It's just that we are living in a means of willful ignorance when it comes to type 1. We have the capacity to be type 1 right now. And because we have that capacity to be type 1, we're able to sort of take these little leapfrogs, if you will, over into the type 2 sort of exploration and experimentation and ponderances. I think that this is dark matter will lead us to a greater leap into type 2. And where Gray and I sort of go back and forth on is whether or not you can go from, if you have to really master type 1 to be able to fully utilize a type 2, or if you can just go, okay, well, we didn't really get type 1, but we're now able to move into type 2. What do you guys think about that?
I don't necessarily know if type 1 is necessary if type 2 comes faster than, let's say, artificial general intelligence can create, I don't know, maybe 10 versions of itself before we get to type 1. We would assume we're approaching type 1, but because it's happening so fast, it's possible we could, I mean, I don't know. We're talking about, I mean, energy levels and intelligence levels that we're trying to see beyond the beyond. So, I mean, I don't know if it's necessary. I would think that you probably, as a civilization, would have to get to type 1 for you to understand what it means to have some sort of a planetary and energy and a planetary language and a planetary, some sort of a planetary unification before you even get to the energy of stars, before you even get to that point. So I don't know if you need one for the other. You probably do, though. I would think that you would.
I'm right there with you, but I think that if we were to get to like type 1 status, then type 2 or type 3 isn't going to be very far behind. Like, I think it'd be a rapid jump to the next 2.
Right. I think it's easier to get from type 2 to type 3 than it is to get from type 2 to type 2.
There was, I forget who did this, but it was proposed that if a civilization gets starward, goes out into the stars, they could settle an entire galaxy in less than 1 million years. So,
and that's not a lot of time. That's not a lot of time.
Not at all.
We were just talking about that. That's not a lot of time at all.
No.
I
think it's a question of value.
Maybe the type.
Right. I just think it's a question of values. I think until we change the values of these disagreeable apes, the focus won't be on that. Like we got our attention divided on a lot of things that, quite honestly, just seem like throwbacks from the 19th century. You know what I mean? Like we still dabble back and forth across that primitive stuff, and we like attached to it. And it's like, even if one society decides, you know, we're not going to focus on that, you still got this other society over here that's still messing around with the 19th century. And I think a lot of these advancements, we need a global effort. And you still got places in this world that don't even have electricity. So, you know what I'm saying? Like we should definitely concentrate on elevating the ones that's considered lower than us that don't have certain things. I think we need to get them up so we can have like a global effort and make a real run at it. But as long as we have these ideas of borders, and I'm from America, that makes me better than you, or, you know, that until we start seeing things from a global perspective, I think it's going to be a lot harder. It's a values thing. It's not that we can't do it.
I don't want to jump on anybody else's point here, but I kind of feel like I disagree with you, Tombstone, in the sense that I don't know if you need human cooperation if you have artificial general intelligence to help you get there.
Well, that's true. I grant you that.
Well, if a nation state, like, advanced technology wing like DARPA says, okay, we're going to create an artificial intelligence that favors, America, okay, for a time that's going to work, and then it's going to outthink that programming, and then it's going to decide that human beings are probably more trouble than it's worth. It will probably allow for some sort of intellectual transition to Type 1, whatever it is, but that doesn't mean we're coming with it.
No.
So I don't know if it needs us. Type 1 doesn't say anything about having to have humans.
True.
The man has a point.
True.
I want to get to some of the comments. I don't know how to help you with that, Matt. I'm not going to say that on air, but
now I want to know.
But there was an interesting question. Mug3K is asking if this podcast is available on iTunes or elsewhere.
It is available on iTunes. We're working on getting the last episode and this episode on there. I can do that tonight. But yes, the last 2 episodes that we've done since we started the Celestial Wars campaign are available on iTunes right now.
Awesome.
And then,
Great and Square Podcast or Grand Unified Podcast.
And then Cosmic Dust is asserting a point. Scientists now say dark matter is a web possibly holding the universe together. Could be.
I've heard of that, the cosmic web.
Could be. I haven't, I don't think you haven't.
Hold it together while dark energy is trying to blow them all apart. I've heard.
Wow.
I haven't really heard enough theories on it to make me feel like that's a really solid direction to go in. I think really right now where we're at with dark matter is everybody's speculating based on recent observations. But it's possible. It's possible, but it's really kind of that age-old question, like if dark matter is holding us together, what's holding dark matter together?
Okay, I think a lot of that comes from the computer simulations of dark matter. That's where the cosmic filament comes from. It comes from conclusion.
Maybe dark matter is an artifact of a simulation.
Wow.
Well,
damn.
I guess we're just throwing this shit out there.
Right.
I feel like after this podcast, I'm going to have to go watch Tron or something. The original one, by the way.
You're going to be in trouble.
Well, I'm not going to hate on the new Tron. It was actually better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with this.
No, let me repeat myself. It was better than I expected it to be. I had, you just really couldn't touch the original Tron. It had a very special place in my heart. But this one it wasn't that bad.
So you're telling me if they redid Starfighter that you probably would not anticipate them doing a good remake or?
Wait, the last Starfighter? Is that what you said? Did you just tug on my heart and bring up the last Starfighter?
I did.
See, the last Starfighter was so dope. That was actually a flick that sort of had me on edge a little bit. Like, I think I was pretty young when I watched that, and it made me, okay, I'm going to be really, really brutally honest here. When I first moved out to a desert, let me preface this by saying that I think it is very naive of us to consider our planet and our human being race to be the only possibility for life. Now, I'm not saying that they're out there. I'm just saying, like, if we exist, something else can exist somewhere else. So, I'm not closed-minded to, somebody being more advanced than we are. I don't think that that's not possible. But movies like The Last Starfighter had me, when I first moved out to a desert area, feeling like, this is great, I can see all the stars, but, I've also heard all the stories, so as I'm driving alone, I'm not really going to look up too much, because while I'm interested in knowing if you've arrived on our planet, I really don't want to be on the greeting committee. I just want to read about it. That's I want to turn on the television, and then I want to click share on the video, but I'm not really trying to be there with the fruit tray for you right away.
I've often said if something was to come out of the sky on us, I would be like, yo, that is so cool, as I head for the hill.
That's great.
For real.
Somebody has to, make that encounter. That was the other thing, close encounters of the third kind. Like,
What happened to, imagine being in Russia with that meteor shower, like coming down. I mean, like, you must have thought the world was coming. I mean, like, did you see the videos of that shit?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I've seen every one of them.
Like, that shit blew my mind. I was like, oh, I mean, like fireballs out of the sky. It's crazy.
So let me ask you guys this then. You guys are talking about your fear of an ET-like civilization coming down here. Are you more worried about that or artificial intelligence? Because I honestly believe that there is far more of a threat, artificial general intelligence here on Earth.
Don't get me wrong. It's not a fear. It's a preference not to be on the green screen. It's not a fear. I mean, quite honestly, in my own personal perspective, I really don't think that our race is all that interesting. For somebody who has traveled from as far away as they've traveled, they're not observing our world with anything more than the eyes, the same way that we might go and observe a preschool class. You know what I mean? Like,
the same way,
maybe even less.
an ant farm.
Yeah.
Say that again, Gary. I didn't get a chance to hear you.
Even preschool class, it'll be the way we observe an anthill.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was going to say they've probably seen a lot
Exactly.
in their travels. They've seen a lot of insects.
Exactly. I would think that too.
I do agree, Gray. I think artificial intelligence is really on the cusp of not being quite as artificial as we've always made it out to be or expected it to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing, like we were talking about the aliens and everything, just a race of beings or whatever that are more advanced than us. This to me is a part of human hubris, because we are under the impression that if you look at every movie about it, most of the movies about it, that they want to come down here and talk to us. And I often think about, make a comparison of, do we sit down and talk to the ants before we build our buildings on top of stuff? No. So I really don't think a civilization that's that far advanced would see us as anything more than just something in the way that they have to prepare the ground for. And they would put whatever, if they wanted to use our planet, they would put their shit right on top of our shit. It wouldn't even be a conversation,
Well, I'll say this, and I'm leaving it on. I'm jumping off this, but I'll say this: if anything around Type 1 may find interest in us, anything above Type 2, nothing.
Right.
Nothing. We are not interesting at all for anything Type 2 or higher.
No.
What if they drink our consciousness? That's their shit. Like, they take shots of our being. You know what I'm saying?
Gabe, that is going to be one bitter ass stream.
You ain't lying.
They are going to need a chaser for that one.
Right.
Our consciousness is the pan-galactic gargle blasters.
If I was that alien who's taking sips out of people's, heads of their consciousness, I would avoid the human drink at all costs, man.
Yeah.
That human taste is probably pretty sour.
That's like a roofie or something.
I mean, think about the amount of genetic pain and suffering. Not just, let's say like I don't know, give me some prey, like a zebra that gets hunted. Mm-hmm. Okay, they probably built up some genetic, memory with being hunted by some leopard or whatever the case may be. Somebody take this over 1 second.
All right, what I would say that you can't. I don't think that we produce enough energy for anybody to really, well, let me not say enough energy. I don't think we produce the same quantity of energy that could be harnessed elsewhere for any other being to really kind of come and need to get it out of a human being. You know, so especially when we understand energy is matter, right?
Right.
So, you know, those fears are, you know, not really existent for me. But I still don't want to be on the greeting committee.
Well, think about this too. Like, what would our music sound like to them? Because it's like, if you hear crickets at night, really, that's kind of. I started tripping on this the other day because I was thinking about, do other creatures create music? Are we the only ones that are creating music, right? And then I thought, okay, well, you know, crickets, that's like a mating call. You hear, you know, birds, that's all kinds of other stuff. They're creating music. And what's that sound like to us? It's just a mating call. And then I'm like, well, what do I make music for? I'm like, dude, I met my girlfriend when I was playing in a funk band in a club. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm making music too.
Yeah, for the mating call.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I wonder, like, what our
Are
music.
you insinuating that a pair of panties might be thrown up on the stage that you can't? Is that what you said?
Basically, yeah, exactly. Then you know you're playing music.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up music because I was just reading today about a fly, and they have scientists have created a tool called they're calling it the FlyMag, but it basically enabled scientists to target light or heat to specific body regions, and they were using this fly, and essentially with this tool, they were able to sort of manipulate its mind control, and this particular fly sings to find its mate. And so they have this picture of it, and it's got like, it's got its wings up, and it's flying, you know, it's this fly that's singing for love, and I just thought, who knew that a fly was singing? Who knew that?
Yeah, I often I bet you can relate to this too. I often think about songs made in frequencies we can't really hear or process. You know, whatever species has a much more wider audio range. You know, human hear from 20 to 20K. You know, what if you're a species that hears from, you know, 6 to 80 or something? Like you're making music with a higher, just wider range of frequencies that you can create music that's just fundamentally more rich than, you know, it'd be like the difference between 16-bit graphics and 32-bit graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Or standard resolution to 1080p.
Yeah.
Well, even in our music, I mean, if you go to, there's like a lot of East Indian instruments that have like, you know, that's out of your typical like Pythagorean 13-note scale. You know what I mean? That there's subdivisions, there's sub-frequencies within those notes, which is crazy. And if you've ever actually tripped out on like a tabla player, you know, like the Indian tabla, I mean, they create some tripped out because they get the low one, they get the high one, and just by, you know, by putting pressure on the actual drum head, they create this other, you know, the tension obviously, which makes it a higher note, and then it goes lower. And just between even that, it's crazy. I mean, considering our species has been listening to they found a flute. I think I talked to Graydon about this once too, but this is crazy. They one of the oldest instruments they found was a flute made out of a bone. And it was tuned to a pentatonic scale, which is like, you know, basically like kind of like a blues scale that we listen to regularly, and it was 30,000 years old.
Wow.
So our species has been listening to certain frequencies for 30,000 years. Like we just think this is cool, you know what I mean? Like this is it, you know, and like that's I mean, there's something to that. There's something to those frequencies that are really, you know, that draws us to that feeling, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, like, even with, like, you know, I mean, playing, like, every pop tune that's been on the radio, it's the same 4 chords for the past, you know what I mean? 60 years.
I want to mention a comment from Mug3K. I like Tombstone's point about bringing the third world countries up to level closer to the first world countries. The next Einstein visionary could easily pass us by due to the simple fact that they never had the opportunity to express their intelligence because they're living in a small village in Africa that doesn't even have access to electricity or basic education.
Right.
And I think to his point, or her point, you know, and we always, you know, think of Africa first when we think about third world nations, but and countries, but really the the intellectual illiteracy is suffered in places where we think it would not exist, places where they have 100% complete access to it. And in fact, our literacy rate in the United States is astonishing. There are grown people who are in a library at 50 some odd years old learning how to read and write their name. So it's a very real circumstance, and it's not just for third world nations or countries or any of the things that we typically think about top of mind. It's our own awareness and general level of education when it comes to technology and access and innovation and potential that we have as individuals to participate in that build.
Right. Absolutely.
So, speaking about participating, speaking about mind control flies, why don't we talk a little bit about this this flying by the seat of your brain? I know you were super excited to talk about that one too.
Yeah. Flying by the seat of the brain. Yeah, when I first saw it, I was kind of, to be quite honest with you, a little terrified of it because some of the brains that I have dealt with in my life, I don't want them flying, But yeah, basically it took like 7 subjects. Did this flight simulator test, had varying levels of flight experience, and included one person without any practical cockpit experience whatsoever. And the accuracy with which test subjects stayed on course by merely thinking the commands would have sufficed in part to fulfill the requirements of the flying test. But I did have a question with this though. I'm still not very familiar with the tech that they were using to make this happen.
Right. Well, I mean, go ahead.
It probably I can't remember the guy's name, but they did a episode on Through the Wormhole with a guy that was controlling wheelchairs via the brain. I think he was taking the different colors and stuff like that, different height of different. Probably has something to do with that.
So what is? I was interested. Like, are they surgically implanting stuff, or is it
So what you're talking about, this is my experience with what's called BCI, or brain controlled interface.
Mm-hmm.
There's invasive and non-invasive, and obviously the invasive one has been able to do more because there's more of a need of it. So if there's brain injuries or something like that a person suffers, there's more likelihood that the person's going to give consent to experiment when it comes to those sort of things.
Right.
Non-invasive, though, has only really been around for like, I don't know, maybe 8 years, 6 to 8 years. I mean, I remember non-invasive brain interface about 2008-ish.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, you could put, and they're real basic and rudimentary. I mean, you can only have maybe like 4 or 8 different commands that you can program in, because it can only track for 8 different brainwave types or something like that.
Right.
Completely butchering this, but that's essentially this NES 8-bit version of brain control interface. I'm assuming in about 15 to 20 years, it'll be just like, an HD iPhone or, something like that. Some new technology that will just have and accept that people control vehicles from their mind.
Man, I just can't help but keep thinking about freaking Ghostbusters when he thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're flying a plane and you're like, oh, biscuits, and then fucking...
Right. This is what scares me, man, because, I mean, like, people have a hard time, I know I do, controlling thoughts and staying focused on shit, and can you imagine me using this brain to drive my car, or using this brain to fly a plane? Like, I don't know. What if I start thinking about music instead of flying the damn plane?
What about you brain to 3D print objects?
Wow.
Shoot.
Now that I actually would like. That's a good idea.
Wow.
For some shit.
That would be hella dope.
Yeah, I also like using your brain as a controller for video games, because think about it. Now that virtual reality is coming along, first of all, we live in the future. Now that virtuality is coming along, you're going to have people who don't want to use controllers anymore. Like, we're going to have to reconcile this virtual environment shit with this 2D plane playing from a third-person bird view perspective shit, and they don't play well together. So what's going to happening is these Oculuses and these Morpheus or whatever headset that they got coming out, they're going to have some component that's non-invasive that's going to have to track your brainwaves where you can move around. So you basically can use your brain, your mind, to move around in these environments and use your body as an assist with these things. Like it's going to get stupid.
It's the last frontier for real for that particular thing. Other than them actually making a holodeck, it's still like the last frontier.
We turning light to matter, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that we're turning light into matter. Like that, we're halfway there now. I mean, shit.
Have you guys seen that article about the guy who was like mapping the brain and storing it in a computer? I mean, there's already a movie about it, but there's some guy that's doing that too, or there's some kind of like new technology. I don't know if it's new technology. I don't know what they're doing, but have you guys heard about that?
I read something about it.
I remember seeing so this goes back to the whole singularity movement that kind of sprung up in around 2009, 2010, where people were talking about uploading consciousness and stuff like that. It's this idea that we are approaching computer technology that's going to allow us to accurately scan the brain neuron for neuron.
Wow.
And you have a situation where if that can be scanned, it can be copied. If it can be copied, it can be stored. If it can be stored, it can be downloaded. So it brings up a real fundamental philosophical question, like what are you? And I was reading an article, and we talk about this all the time. We read a lot of articles in GU.
Yes, we do.
I was reading an article about how thought is basically a form of a quantum state.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Gary. Gary, you was about to say something?
Somebody said what? Nah. I was gonna say how so many people misunderstood that article, but
oh, that happens all the time on the page.
Oh shit! Don't even get me started on people's fucking daily current stories.
Well, look, it's also the number one thing that we promote within Brand Unified is fact check the sources. Look at the sources and gather all the information. And even with some of these legitimate sourced articles, I'm finding that there's a lot of misconception because people are still just skimming, and it's okay to skim. I skim articles all of the time, but if I want to make an educated opinion about it, then not only am I going to read that source material, but then I'm going to go dig a little deeper and let me find out who these scientists are. Let me find out what this lab is all about. I want to know what the latest is in terms of the development of this particular technology or the tools that they're using within this experiment, so that you really get a full understanding, not just about what they're talking about, but so that you're able to start formulating a picture of the possibility and potential about what's being discussed. But sometimes Real Housewives of wherever comes on, and you don't have time like that.
Well, I to be honest, I cheat with my articles because I have my computer, my browser read to me. So a lot of times I'll be working on shit and I'll be playing a beat and it sounds like it's rapping, like my computer rap, mechanical ass monotone voice, which is better than 99% of the rappers that are out today.
No, great, you're wrong.
I get a chance to listen to my computer read me these weird ass articles and try to pronounce words that sound weird.
But
you're wrong. Everybody's doing.
I think there's enough MCs in GU where we can change that percentage. It's not 99.
Right.
98.5.
So look, to your point last week or the week before last, I think that we really are coming, to not necessarily on the brink of, but we are entering the era of technology and information. And so we now have a choice whether we can make it work for us or if we just fall ignorantly to the wayside of it. I think if we fall ignorantly to the wayside of it, we are going to end up in that circumstance which you touched on, I think, last week, which is that an elite few have access to to the knowledge, because they are the ones that are privileged with either the ability to use or the know-how to use that sort of technology.
Agreed.
So, you know, I want to thank you guys for a seriously dope conversation. You know, I really would love to do this all night long, but we can't. We got music to get back to. We've got planning to get to, and our families and loved ones that are waiting on us as well. So I just really want to thank everybody for being here. Gabe and Gary, we want to do this more often with you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Love it.
definitely.
Our GU brothers. Next week, we have a treat. We have Ike Dees is going to be with us. I love that guy. He is so
Yeah. I hadn't been on in a while, so
Yeah.
good to have him back.
and he's full of opinions, which I love. I love.
He's also a comic geek like me, so yeah.
Yes, be prepared for that. There will be much comic book happening next week. So again, I just want to say thank you guys for being with us tonight. Everybody in our audience, you guys had great comments and questions and feedback. We love hanging out with you like this every week. And then most definitely a huge thank you to everybody who has supported us with our Celestial Wars campaign, those that had pocketbooks to dig into, those that had the ability to share it and put everybody else up on it, those that have been supporting anonymously. You know, we shout out people who give us permission to put their names out there, but there are a lot of people who, you know, who prefer to remain in silence a little bit, and we definitely want them to know that we appreciate them just as much as anybody whose name we call out, and we want you guys to know that as well. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm Rissa Polaris.
Yeah. Great and square.
G8.
Gabe Rosales.
Tombstone the Dead Man.
We are just but a few of the members of Grand Unified, and we'll catch you next week. Peace.
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 Bye.